result that is needed, upload it, then reconfigure it. So those are two different processes. Give us an understanding of technically what this means.
Thank you, Sean. It's good to be back on your show again. And, you know, the INEC is right that BVAS, the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, is a game changer. That INEC is right about. But as with all forms of technology, you know, there's a difference between a game-changing technology and game-changing application of that technology. A very simple example, most of the mobile phones we have in our pockets are even more powerful than some of the supercomputers that people used for research in the 70s, in the late 60s and 70s. But guess what? There is literally none of us that use these mobile phones as much as as much as the power that they have. And I think this is where there is a challenge with what happened during the presidential elections. INEC promised that the BVAS was going to do its 3 levels of work. The first level is biometric accreditation, which is where it does the fingerprint or iris scan just to confirm that the person who is about to vote is the real person, and this did work. I mean, I was a witness to a scenario where a set of identical twins wanted to vote, and because one of them had voted, the other twin went through a lot of hoops before he could eventually vote, because the system first of all recognized him as the same person. But of course, because fingerprints are different, iris scans are different, he was eventually able to vote. So clearly, that function of the BVAS worked in most cases, and I think you can see from many of the reports that that function worked. The second function, which the jury is still out on, is the function that allows the BVAS to transmit results, or not transmit results in the sense of but transmit the image of the results as scanned by the electoral officials and sent to the cloud. And by the way, when I keep hearing INEC and others talk about server, I think we sort of confuse people. Because yes, there is a server where the information is sent to, but the idea of saying that there is a safe and secure server somewhere as if it is a physical storage in the sense of INEC's management of it is a bit misleading, and that goes to my third point, which is what the BVAS can do. As a device that has an operating system, that has storage, and that has the many functions of a digital device, the BVAS can store information. So when INEC says it wants to reconfigure, and I believe that the reconfiguration across the over 170,000 polling units means that each device is tied, literally, is configured to work in that particular polling unit. And the reason why that is important for a device to be attached or to be connected or to be literally geolocated to a particular polling unit is to guard against a scenario where people can buy a similar device. Because to be honest, if you really look at it, I can tell that device looks like an EKEMP device that runs I see what it looks like. So anybody with any possibility of being able to get a similar device may then say, okay, you know what, we've seen it, let's get something and put data on it and then use it to claim that this is what we use.
So Benga, apologies to Button. So let me get two quick straight questions out. You described that device, you compare it to an EKMP M8. There's been a lot of comparison to the capacity of the BVAS and the EKMP, which is said to be also a biometric tablet produced by Samsung that has up to 1.3 gigahertz of space and of speed and about 2 gigabytes of storage space on it. So the question is, does INEC need to delete or remove the presidential election result before it can use it for the governorship election result?
Sean, and I know if I'd said yes or no, that would have been quoted by many warring parties. It's not that straightforward. Technically, that device can store information for multiple elections because it depends on how many voters you have in.
Benga, it does look like we lost audio from your end. Is there something wrong?
I started hearing something else entirely, like another studio was talking. So,
apologies for that. I mean, I was afraid for a moment if somebody has hacked into your system, maybe, yeah. or your server has been disrupted by something. Please go ahead.
So this is beautiful, and I'm glad you just use the word server from my end again. The idea is compare the device that INEC uses to your computer. And this is a very simple comparison. You don't have to delete all the work you did in 2022 for you to start working in 2023. But if that device is going to be used in a different office by a different person, what you may want to do is to, first of all, make sure that you upload that information to the cloud, and then make sure that you have a digital copy, a certified digital copy of what happened on February 25. Because, by the way, that is what INEC will present during the entire tribunal process. They will present, they will not be, the physical device is something, but what they will really be presenting is a digital copy of all the results on February 25. And that's why they keep referring to the IREV. The problem with the IREV, though, is that on February 25, INEC failed in its mission to make all of the polling unit results available on IREV in real time or immediately after the elections. If they had said to citizens and to everyone and all stakeholders that what they are doing now is to make sure that they retrain people, not just reconfigure the device, because reconfiguring the device can mean many things, and it can even lead to suspicion. Reconfiguring the device does not mean deleting the data. It literally means that INEC needs to back up that data, because I do not necessarily think that INEC needs to delete the data for the presidential elections for it to use the device.
Okay.
So the answer you asked, it's not a yes or a no answer. Technically, the answer is they don't need to delete it, but they clearly need to maintain the integrity of that information, which is why they need to get a digital copy, confirm the digital copy before it then changes hands to be used again on March 11th. Oops, not 11th anymore, 18th.
18th. So what we know is that the devices are polling unit typified. So it's now been designed and configured for polling units. So if it's the same polling unit that you use the device for in the first election and you're using it for the second election, so people are asking, why are they configurable? INEC knows better. But this is another tricky part, which we need your expertise on. You know the magnitude of work that went into the IREF portal. Basically, all the over 176,000 polling unit result was to be uploaded. And let's assume there is a certain amount of the space that every result sheet would take. So you can understand the magnitude of what the IREF portal should do. But somehow, something happened to the IREF portal on election day. The pathway to the IREF portal became a failure. It didn't work as planned. Give us a scenario of what could have happened that IREF portal failed Nigeria, failed INEC. What could have gone wrong, Benga?
So I think this is where we need to separate technology from project management. The first thing that went wrong on February 25 was project management related, not technology related. That's the reason why, I mean, as at now, we have 165,143 results that have been uploaded versus 176,846. There are, polling units where elections didn't hold. There are, polling units where elections, were cancelled and things like that, which of course doesn't mean they shouldn't upload what happened there. But on February 25, first of all, a lot of the people who were supposed to upload this result give excuses. In my own polling unit, for example, the INEC representative said that they didn't have data, and people provided data for them. And this happened in many places. So one is the project management failure of backup data. Now, this is assuming there was no deliberate attempt not to upload the data. The second is that there was a conversation about offline mode, which anybody who uses any cloud, application will understand that if you're working on a spreadsheet online and your internet access goes off, you can still continue working. You can still type, you can still do anything you want to do, as long as the device does not go off before you get restored access, even if it hibernates. And you can open it up again. Once you connect, that data will continue to be transmitted and will be updated on the cloud. So we had a data challenge, and the second was the fact that clearly I don't think there was enough training for people who were.
So Gbenga, apologies if I may provide some bit of scenario to that. Maybe in just 30 seconds you can help out. What we understand and what we're trying to find out, and hopefully INEC can unmute itself and come forward and come clean to Nigerians and explain what exactly went wrong, is the fact that there was a pathway to the IREF portal in which everybody have access to. That in some way failed, and perhaps there was another pathway that was designed, which was in fact slowed down, and that was one of the reasons. I mean, the question I ask is, could there be a reason where that portal, the pathway was compromised internally, or any other sense? You are the expert here, such that they had to resort to an alternative, which took a long time. Then it took almost evening before we started seeing some results coming in, albeit very slow.
I do not want to, add to any conspiracy theory here, but technically, it is possible that there was a compromise, that there was a violation of the integrity of the server, and someone had access to it. That's possible, but we wouldn't know until INEC provides a lot more information, or the technology team in INEC. Secondly, we don't know that, and this is what I've seen from the way the platform performed on the day of the elections versus the day after the elections and 2 days after. And I was monitoring this, and what I saw was that INEC clearly did not anticipate the amount of stress that will come on the server if 176,846 polling units are uploading at the same time. I don't know if this simulation was done. I don't know if there was a budget constraint, because what typically happens at times is, you need to pay for a particular bandwidth, you need to pay for a particular size, and then you look at cost and you say, well, we may not have more than 30%, and you pay for less. And it was clear, very clear to me, and I'm saying this and I can defend it anywhere, that on the day of the elections, there was a lot of activity going on the INEC website, such that even the INEC website, INEC.gov.ng and INEC.Nigeria.org, kept going on and off. And you could tell, I mean, anyone who works with WordPress could tell that this is a scenario where there's so much stress on this platform that wasn't prepared for, and wasn't elastic enough. So it is very possible that also happened. And it is also possible that there was a compromise or a deliberate attempt from inside INEC, but those will be theoretic analysis for now.
All right. Thank you so much, Gbenga, for those insights there. I know you have, you're pressed for time and you need to go. So thank you so much for your time. I might have to drag you virtually back at some point, because these issues need to be tracked. We need to move forward. Our election also is somewhat a progress for our democracy, consistent election, and if you see some kind of improvement, it shows